John. Yeah, hello everyone. It's good to be back. I have Matthias Huziani, who is a Benjamin Franklin Scholar at the Department of Africana Studies, University of Pennsylvania. He has distinguished himself in many ways. He has been, up to this moment, he has been a lecturer at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And today we'll be looking at something very critical. You know, it is a word that has recently gained inroad into Nigerians' lexicon. You can guess the word, JAPA. Yes, JAPA is something that is common even recently. I'm sure if the promoters or the author of the Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary want to edit the dictionary, they want to include the word JAPA. Mr. Uziani,
Yeah.
what do you know about JAPA? What's your perception of JAPA? What does it even mean?
Thank you so much. JAPA to me, of course, it originated from two Yoruba language that means to flee or to go away. And recently, it has eaten deep into the fabric of the global south that people tend to leave and flee away from their country. So for me, JAPA simply means people leaving their territory, their country, their location to a different particular place. Specifically, these people living, in terms of the word JAPA, lives because of the economic crisis or economic challenges that have bedealt them in their particular sphere. So, summarily, JAPA to me simply means people leaving their territory to another place. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like you said, right, it means simply living. But again, even though JAPA is not peculiar to Nigeria, right? Nigerians are not the only one living, but recently we've seen what has become a trend, right? Which is more like a mass exodus of Nigeria, or the mass exodus of Nigerians from Nigeria. So much so that they just want to leave. They want to leave any other place but Nigeria.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, why do you think Nigerians are fleeing the country? Because this is not just leaving the country, but they are fleeing the country.
Yeah, I think I will summarize the mass the mass exodus of Nigerians leaving the country in three categories. They are leaving specifically because of economic challenges in the country. They are leaving because of high rate of insecurity in the country. And the last, they are leaving because of the political turmoil or political crisis in the country. When we're looking at the economic crisis, Nigeria since 2015 has faced lots of challenges in terms of inflation, in terms of rise in commodity, in terms of people not holding sphere in job opportunities. So people are migrating to a better country like UK, US, Canada to secure better economic opportunity, especially job opportunity, because in Nigeria, graduate students after 6 years, 5 years in school, graduate and roam around the street without having anything to lay their hands on. So all these youths, specifically youths between the range of 20 to 40 years, tends to leave the country to secure an economic sphere for themselves. In terms of insecurity, since 2010, Nigeria has been challenged with lot of crises, terrorist agitation, Boko Haram in the north. So people are also living because of insecurity. They're also living because people are challenged by kidnapping, arson, robbery, theft, a lot of things. So in order to have a kind of a serene environment, something is pushing them away from the country. And borrowing from Ernest Ravenstein theory of push and pull theory, Nigeria is pushing them away in terms of this insecurity crisis. So they are being pulled by a place they can have a kind of security. Now, in terms of political crisis, Nigeria has been challenged. Since 1999, Nigeria returned to democracy. It has been challenged with political turmoil. But since 2015, specifically, the political crisis in Nigeria has increased, and a lot of tension has risen between the diverse regions in Nigeria. So people are scared. People are not at peace with the political aftermath of the country. So I think these are the three reasons specifically Nigerians are leaving the country to another specific countries around the globe.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much for, for actually giving a very solid, explanation, right? But again, it's often said that the glory of every nation lies in its youth.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see is the fact that, just like you mentioned, the youth, the young ones are the ones living. So what does this mean for these nations? Because again, it's not peculiar to Nigeria, it's even for the continent of Africa. What does this even mean? Because this is a continent that is still, even, notwithstanding its abundant resources, it is still regarded as developing, and in some cases, underdeveloped.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for the continent of Africa? What does this mean for Nigeria in particular?
Well, as the young ones are living, specifically, as I mentioned earlier, the people living are between the 20s and 40s. As this particular crop of people are leaving the country is affected with its manpower. So this crop of people leaving to countries like Dubai, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, is really a big blow to Nigeria, because the manpower that's supposed to be invested in the country are being given to another country in terms of creativity, in terms of intellectual curiosity, in terms of development and growth. So for me, it's a very it's disadvantage to the country, Nigeria. And until we get it right, until the Nigerian country gets it right, to kind of rethink why these youths are leaving the country is already at the crossroad. So for me, they should encourage the young ones not to leave the country by start maintaining some of those queries that we pointed out earlier about the economic crisis.
Thank you so much. Just to take you up on that, there was a time that it's the statement that Nigeria have enough doctors, and so much so that we can even export doctors, or we can even allow doctors to leave the country, was credited to the former Minister of Health. Right, which means even the government, they seem not to be aware of these challenges, right? They seem to be, they are not paying key attentions. Now, my question is, do you believe that, for a country like Nigeria with teeming youth population, that we have enough to even export, that JAPA should not be a source of worry or concern to the political class?
I have maintained my stand in this. There is nothing wrong with people leaving the country in terms of to better their education or better their life. But the question is, are they going to return to that country? If a medical doctor is leaving Nigeria to garner knowledge from medical experts in Canada, in UK, in Dubai, that's good. Even Japan did that. China is still doing that today. People can go and still return back and invest that knowledge in them. But in Nigeria, the case is different. People leaving are not returning because of the insecurity. They are afraid of being kidnapped. They are afraid of being harassed. They are afraid of being killed. So for me, the political class should look critically into some of these things. If people are migrating to United States, why are these doctors, these nurses, these academians, why are they not returning to invest those ample knowledge they have gathered in all this country back to the citizens? Because we need it in Nigeria. As you said earlier, it's a developing country, it's part of the global south. And what we need is that some of this knowledge we have gathered from these countries, we need to invest it back in Nigeria. But the question still maintains, is Nigeria safe to receive this knowledge? So for me, I encourage people to leave the country to get knowledge, but I also encourage the political class in Nigeria to make the country good, safe for them to return and invest their knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very solid point, to be honest, Mr. Zani. But again, beyond safety, right? Beyond safety, what about the other aspect, which is and of course, we have this knowledge, there's safety, there's security, but again, other aspect, right, which has to do with how do we even apply this knowledge, right? Are there enabling environment in terms of, the tools? For example, if I've acquired massive knowledge, right, in the science of cancer treatment, and I go to a teaching hospital without the requisite facility, of course, I'll be handicapped, right? So all of these again put together is part of the reasons, right? But the other part I want us to look at is the effects of the so-called JAPA syndrome on Nigerians in diaspora. For instance, we see people, even with their well-paid jobs in Lagos, living good lives, even they rose through the rank from being a junior associate to a partner. And because of the situation of things, they decide to relocate to a new country and they want to start from square one, right? And even sometimes we see people, even taking up jobs like home care jobs. And was it last week, a lawyer who slumped to death, because slumped and died because she took on the position of a care assistant. So the question is, what is the effect of this so-called JAPA syndrome on Nigerians in diaspora? More so in terms of their mental health, in terms of, even their economic position, financial standing, and all of that.
Well, the mental health of people in diaspora, I think they are much interested in the resource and the money they are being paid. For instance, speaking about academia, a university professor in Nigeria earns 450,000 naira, which is approximately $400 in United States. That even an hour caregiver here in United States earn more than a university professor. So if a university professor leaves Nigeria to the United States and within a month gathers $8,000, it's quite beneficial to him than to be a university professor, because a university professor, for a reason, since 2009, that's the last review salary scale of university professors and university levels in Nigeria. So how do we equate those terms you mentioned about lawyers being a caregiver, bankers being a caregiver in the United States? Those people as caregivers earn better than even lawyers in Nigeria. So for them, their mental health is being constrained on how to solve societal problem, how to solve their family problem, and how to also benefit in this short lifespan they have in this earth. So for me specifically, what they are interested in their mental constraints is what to gain when they travel. In as much as the country where they are traveling to is still affecting them in terms of taxation, in terms of living cost, but they still navigate some of those things mentally and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very, I mean, you mentioned very salient point. But one thing again, I find it a bit controversial is the fact that you equating a professor who earns, say, 400,000 in Nigeria and a caregiver in the United States who earns $400, right? Do you think the level of satisfaction is at par? Because again, one is a professor, of course, it comes with all of those, prestige. More so, the fulfillment, the career fulfillment, right? Having attained that level. So how do you now want to navigate that? You know, do you want to relegate fulfillment or career fulfillment to the background or sacrifice it on the altar of financial gain? And again, also looking at the fact that even the standard of living in these two countries are different.
What is career fulfillment without joy? That's I keep asking myself this question, and whenever I've been posed such of this question, I said, what is career fulfillment without joy and without something you benefit from that same career you are into?
But joy is relative.
Joy is relative when your career matches up with what you gain. So how can a university professor, after years of input, years of investment, years of research, is still going home monthly in Nigeria with 450,000? These are professors in bar 10, because professors have their levels. We have 1/10. I'm talking about professors in 10/10 bar. That's a newly served professor starts with 300,000. So now, and the education system is not even paying them for their research. So I'm trying to equate joy with career satisfaction. That if someone cannot be satisfied, and that's why we see a lot of these cases about extortion in Nigerian universities. People try to, make ends meet. So, and in doing that, they fill in gap in different places just to maintain that some of those T's and I's are being dotted. But here in the United States, a professor is entitled to research funding, travel funding, his salary, and also day-to-day activities in terms of medical bills, fuel bills, and all that. But in Nigeria, everything is summed up in the salary. They don't have any research funding. So, and it affects their joy, it affects their career. And you don't give effectively. You don't give effectively when you're not being paid well. That is it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, in essence, you're encouraging a Nigerian university professor, to, if he or she has the means or opportunity to leave Nigeria, to not even, to take up position as a caregiver.
No. Look, I'm not encouraging them to be caregivers, but I'm trying to say that I think Nigeria is missing in 3 basic sectors.
Yeah.
And moving around in flavorous activities. The key sector of a country that needs to grow is education.
Yeah.
I think they should learn from the history of Japan after the Tokugawa dynasty was declined. So I think they should learn from how the Meiji tries to restore Japan in terms of education, sending people out to parts of other countries like France, and then they came back with ample knowledge. So for me, it's not about them quitting their job as a professors to caregiver in the United States or caregiver in the Canada or UK, but I'm trying to speak to the Nigerian government as a whole that these aspects like education, health, and infrastructure should be a kind of a primary aspect they should look at, specifically education. If we get the education right, people migrating to other developed country, we see reasons to come back and invest. And statistically, like last year, I read somewhere that over 500,000 university teachers left Nigeria to different parts of the world. That's alarming. And these folks leaving the country, I'm not sure whether they have intention of coming back. But it's also good to travel out of the country. But another question is, are they going to return to invest those knowledges they have, those knowledge they have gathered from this country down to Nigeria?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question, really. But yeah, let's focus on you a little bit, right? You've been a Nigerian university professor. I mean, you've been part of the system. You know how the system work and everything. And coming to the US, of course, is in JAPA because you came here because you had the opportunity to be for your PhD, right? And you became a Benjamin Franklin scholar. Yeah. So my question is, how has been what has been the most significant difference in terms of, this is two different academic environments, right, and research. So what has been the most significant difference between the United States in terms of academic research and, the effort into academics, and in Nigeria, right? Yeah, of course, you've been a professor.
I think Nigerian universities and United States universities are in two different pedestal. They are I can't even equate both environments, both academic environments. Lots of academic environment in Nigeria is nothing to write home about in terms of the buildings, in terms of the quality of the staff, and also in terms of academic books, texts that are in the libraries. So, and most Nigerian universities are not updating their records. So the two environments are I think they are working in two different worlds. So part of what I'm challenging the Nigerian government to do is to look at the basic tools required in a university setting. Not only university, let them go down to primary school, secondary school, and then the university institutions, and kind of look at how are we going to navigate some of these challenges? How are we going to invest in knowledge? And investing in knowledge simply means building new laboratories, equipping it with books, also maintaining good academic sphere in terms of libraries, national archives, where documents are being kept, and some of the local government areas should have a specific academic sphere, academic places where some of these things are being showcased. So I think Nigeria has a very limited advisors in terms of education, and no government has gotten it right in 1999. And as time goes on, for me, I'm encouraging the Nigerian government to critically look at some of these things, because if these things are not being taken care of, so sorry to say it, but most graduates in Nigeria will be defeated in terms of matching up with developed world graduates.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think the last question for you today is, what's the general advice, right, to people who are looking towards leaving the country, or those who want to JAPA? What do you have to say to them?
Well, my general advice, as I pointed out earlier, leaving the country is not bad. If you are insecure in your place, you need to leave the place. When I mean insecurity, I mean both you are being threatened in your life and economically. You need to live and secure a future for yourself, because you don't need to die young. You need to fulfill the purpose you are here on earth. So for me, if someone's life in Nigeria is being threatened politically, economically, and physically, the person should look for an alternative, an environment that has all these things that will give him or her a peace of mind. So that's my kind of advice to those who wants to leave. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.